Okay, perfect. Okay, that's more than I need. I certainly don't want any enthusiasm from you. That would be most unfitting. Well, well, Canadians, we have a sort of restraint to us. You know, Americans get very kind of about everything. You know, I mean, about their own country in particular. You ask an American, "What's the best country in the world?" America. No, it's not. Shut up. Right. You ask a Canadian the same question. What's the best country in the world? Oh, I don't know. They're all pretty good, really, aren't they? You know. It's funny you should ask, because I used to like all the ones that were blue on the map. And someone told me them were ocean. Who knew? So Canadians have their own kind of way. Stefan is from the eastern end of the country, which, you know, I love Canada. I love all its regions in their own demented way. But I prefer this end of the country. I admit that I have a bias for it. And I'll explain a little bit about why. The East Coast, I know. Well, yeah. Well, let's start with Newfoundland, which, yeah. I like Newfies, and I'll tell you why I like Newfies, because Newfies are the best liars in the world. Right? I mean, everybody in the world lies. Everywhere you go, anywhere on the planet, people lie, because that's what humans do. It's part of human nature. In fact, we're the only animal that does lie, really. I mean, dogs certainly try. You can see dogs who've done something wrong, and they kind of look at you like, and they give up. They don't have the moxie for it. Cats can lie. Cats are the only other creatures that can lie. Because they'll stand by a door and they'll go, "Can I go out? Can you let me out? Could you? I'd really like to go out. If you could open the door, could you?" And then you go to open the door and they go, "I don't want to go out. You're so dumb." I mean, so a cat can lie. But human beings, it's generally our domain. Lying, dishonesty, that's our thing. That's our hook. And most places in the world, though, when people tell a lie, you can see them diminished by it, right? You can see them sort of melted by their own moralic acid when they tell a lie. They're like, "Oh, I don't know who she is, honey. I've never seen her before. I don't know. You know." But when Newfies lie, you can see them grow. You can see it invigorates them. Lying is to Newfies what spinach was to Popeye. Just makes them feel good, you know? I mean, they say the most ridiculous things, and they're completely invested in them. They're right there. They're just like, "Oh, yeah, when I was first born, this left leg was a wheel. Oh, yeah. That's when my dad had a job. Oh, yeah. Just crazy lies." And, you know, So you're from the East Coast? Whereabouts are you from? New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. Can't make up your mind. Fair enough. Both. No, I mean, there are beautiful things there. But I mean, here's why I consider we have the edge. I'll explain. I mean, first of all, just look at it's represented in the fish, if nothing else. Because you look at what the fish on the West Coast is. What is the West Coast fish? It's the salmon, right? And it's a representation of the West Coast because it's sort of glittery and, you know, it fits. It's very slender and athletic. It's this athletic fish. I'm swimming. And it's almost sexual. If a fish can be sexual, because it's tough. You know, if you're a fish, you're going, "I need sex appeal. This is hard," you know. But fish salmon rather, they almost pull it off. I mean, even look at how they die. I mean, it's very West Coast, right? First they climb up a mountain. You know, they're like, "Oh, we'll get some exercise." I'm surprised they don't go to mountain co-op first. I mean, but they go up, they go through this sort of fitness-related series of jumps. Then they have sex and they die. It's perfectly West Coast. The East Coast fish is the cod, which is much more like, "Have you seen me, mum?" You know, it's just not as appealing a fish. Quebec has French, which I admire. I like French. Beautiful language, a very poetic, melodic language. I don't know how Quebec fucked it up so much, but still. Because it's very different in France than in Quebec. You know, French in France, people sound like little butterflies are coming from their mouth. No? You know. In Quebec, the same conversation. You know. It's like, you know, the French had flown across the Atlantic and struck the rocks of Newfoundland. And you know, the Newfies had picked it up and gone, "Well, we can make some money from this. We'll sell it to them fellas over there. We got some French for you. I'll sell it to you cheap." So, looks like it's fine. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened to that. Toronto, where they have the world's biggest useless building, they have the CN Tower. Right? For many years, the French had the world's biggest useless building. They had the Eiffel Tower, which they built in 1889 for a World's Fair. They went, look, it's huge and it's useless. And people came from around the world and went, wow, is that ever stupid and French looking? Until two guys from Toronto saw it and said, well, I can make something bigger and stupider than that. And with government money. So they made this huge stick with a box at the top, the world's biggest tree fort. Ta-da. Winnipeg, first time I went there, minus 26 degrees. I said to the cab driver, it's cold. He goes, no, this isn't cold. This is nice. I said, no, I've been places where it's nice and this is cold. I mean, there are things that will tell you a place is too cold. If when the snow melts and you find people, surely that's a sign it's a little brisk out, wouldn't you say? If you can miss a bus and die, it's time to move, really, you know? Saskatchewan is as though when God created the planet, he got a huge scrubbing brush and went, try and live on that. High-rises in Saskatoon. The point of a high-rise is to save space. You go 30 miles north of Saskatoon, it's still the same field. It's still owned by a guy named Ed something Chuck. What's the point? Alberta, similar to British Columbia, but different. Similar, different. There's a lot of friction, really, between Alberta and British Columbia. A lot of friction, a lot of friction, a lot of friction. That's why those mountains are there. And they are different from us, because what's their main industry? It's represented, I think, perfectly by that. Their main industry is oil. 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 They produce oil. And what does oil do? Oil makes things go and move and run. That's Alberta's job, to make engines go, industry go, make things go and move and run. We're Alberta. We make things go and move and run. That's Alberta's job. Energy, energy, energy. What's British Columbia's main industry? Growing pot. What does that do? That makes everything stop. Whoa, you're really going there, Mr. Alberta. Holy shit. I guess it's a good thing I'm here, man. You would have got right in the fucking ocean, dude. Yeah, it's always cloudy here. Really, I mean, their business is oil. That's the business of the past. That's the business that everybody knows has to go or the whole planet will go. We have to get rid of it. We have to get rid of it. It's the past, right? What's British Columbia's main industry? Growing pot? That's the future. We're just sitting around going, yeah, it'll be the main cash crop. We can wait. You know, we'll just snowboard till everyone's ready. There we go. There's my little summary of the country. All right.